The jungle air on Verdania Prime was thick and hot. Dr. Katie Morrison wiped sweat from her face as she checked her scanner one more time. The device showed 3 red dots moving through the trees ahead. Shadow Maw Venom beasts were close. Katie looked at her 2 research partners. Scholar Lyrale Moon Whisper stood perfectly still, her silver hair glowing softly in the filtered sunlight. Her blue eyes watched the jungle with ancient wisdom. The Etheri woman had lived for 300 years and studied dangerous creatures across the galaxy. She knew how to stay alive. Beside her, warrior scientist Zekth clicked his mandibles, nervously. The Zephyrian's compound eyes could see things humans missed. His chitinous armor gleamed green and black. 4 arms held different scanning devices. He had fought in wars and studied in laboratories. Both skills were useful here. "The beasts are feeding," Lyrale whispered. Her voice was soft like wind through leaves. "We must stay behind the energy barrier. These creatures kill with a single bite." Katie nodded, but her eyes were bright with excitement. She had traveled across space to study these predators. Back on Earth, the most dangerous animal was maybe a bear or a shark. Here on Verdania Prime, everything wanted to kill you. The plants could dissolve skin. The air carried toxic spores, and the Shadow Maw Venom beasts were the deadliest of all. The 3 scientists moved forward carefully. Their energy barrier hummed softly around them. It would stop the beasts from seeing or smelling them. Katie hoped it would be enough. Through the trees, she saw her first Shadow Maw. The creature was beautiful and terrible. It looked like a panther, but twice as large. Its fur was deep black with silver stripes. When it moved, the stripes seemed to shift and flow. Its eyes glowed yellow in the shadows. Most frightening were its fangs. They were as long as Katie's hand and dripped with clear venom. The beast was eating something that used to be a large herbivore. 2 more Shadow Maws lay nearby, their bellies full. Katie pulled out her camera and began recording. This was why she had come so far from home. "Look at the pack behavior," she whispered into her recorder. "The alpha feeds first. The others wait their turn. This shows complex social structure." Lyrale watched Katie with concern. Humans were so young as a species. They had only been in space for a few decades. They did not understand how dangerous the galaxy could be. The Etheri had learned caution over thousands of years. One mistake could end a bloodline. Zekth studied his instruments. The venom concentration in the air was rising. Even tiny amounts could cause paralysis in most species. His armor had filters, but he still felt nervous. These beasts had killed Zephyrian warriors, strong warriors who had won many battles. Katie moved closer to the barrier edge. She wanted better footage of the feeding behavior. The barrier flickered slightly. The power cells were old. They should have brought newer equipment. "Careful, human Katie," Zekth clicked. "The barrier weakens." "I just need a few more minutes," Katie said. She was so focused on the beasts that she did not notice the barrier's energy readings dropping. The Alpha Shadow Maw suddenly raised its head. Its yellow eyes looked directly at them. Lyrale felt ice in her veins. The creature could sense them somehow. "It knows we are here." She breathed. The beast stood slowly. Venom dripped from its fangs onto the jungle floor. Where the drops landed, plants withered and died. The creature was magnificent and deadly. It began walking toward their hiding spot. "The barrier will hold," Katie said, but her voice was less certain now. The Shadow Maw circled their position. The other 2 beasts raised their heads from their meal. Soon all 3 predators were moving around the barrier. They could not see the scientists, but they knew something was there. The Alpha suddenly lunged forward. Its massive claws struck the energy field. Sparks flew and the barrier flickered. The power readings dropped further. "We should retreat," Lyrale said urgently, but Katie was mesmerized. "This is incredible hunting behavior. They are testing our defenses. Look how they coordinate." The second beast joined the attack. Both creatures struck the barrier together. The energy field flashed and sparked. Warning lights began blinking on their equipment. Zekth's 4 arms moved quickly over his devices. "Barrier failing. Power at 30%. The third Shadow Maw approached from behind. These beasts were smarter than anyone had realized. They were setting a trap. "Katie, we must go now," Lyrelay said, but it was too late. The third beast struck the barrier from the rear while the other two attacked from the front. The energy field collapsed with a loud pop. Suddenly, the scientists stood exposed in the jungle. 3 of the deadliest predators in the galaxy surrounded them. The beasts' yellow eyes glowed with hunger and intelligence. The Alpha moved first. It was faster than thought. Katie had no time to run or hide. The massive creature leaped through the air. Its fangs were aimed at her throat. Katie threw up her arm to protect herself. The beast's momentum carried them both to the ground. She felt the fangs pierce deep into her shoulder. Venom pumped into her bloodstream. The bite was powerful enough to crack bones. Lyrelay screamed. She had seen Shadow Maw attacks before. The venom would reach Katie's brain in minutes. Then her heart would stop. There was no cure, no treatment. The human would die in agony. Zack raised his weapons, but the other beasts were already retreating. They had gotten what they came for. One bite from the Alpha was enough. They would wait for the human to die, then return for the body. Katie lay on the ground with the Alpha's massive weight on top of her. She could feel the creature's hot breath on her face. Its fangs were still buried in her shoulder. More venom pumped into her system. But something was wrong. Katie should have been convulsing by now. She should have been screaming in pain. Instead, she looked up at the beast with curious eyes. "Huh," she said calmly. "That's weird." The Shadow Maw pulled back its fangs and stepped away. It seemed confused. Prey did not talk after being bitten. Prey died quickly and quietly. Katie sat up slowly. She looked at the puncture wounds in her shoulder. Clear venom still dripped from the holes. She touched the liquid with her finger and sniffed it. "It just feels kind of tingly," she said. Lyrelay stared in shock. Humans were supposed to be fragile. They had no natural armor, no poison resistance. They came from a gentle world with friendly animals. How was Katie still alive? Zack's compound eyes widened. His instruments showed massive amounts of venom in the air around Katie, enough to kill a dozen Zephyrians. But the human just sat there like nothing had happened. Katie stood up and brushed dirt from her clothes. She pulled out her camera again. "Did you see how the beast coordinated that attack? And look at these bite marks. The fang penetration is incredible. This is great data." The Alpha Shadow Maw backed away slowly. In all its years of hunting, it had never seen prey survive its bite. The creature's yellow eyes showed something like fear. It turned and ran into the jungle. The other 2 beasts followed. Katie watched them go with disappointment. "Oh, they are leaving. I wanted to observe post-attack behavior." Lyrelay could not speak. In 300 years of life, she had never seen anything impossible. But humans might be something beyond her understanding, something that changed everything she thought she knew about the galaxy. Zack clicked his mandibles rapidly. This was either the greatest discovery in scientific history or the beginning of something terrifying, maybe both. Back at the research station, Lyrelay paced around the medical bay like a caged animal. Her silver hair moved with each quick turn. She had run every scan she could think of on Katie. The results made no sense. Katie sat on the examination table, swinging her legs like a child. The bite wounds on her shoulder had already stopped bleeding. She seemed more interested in organizing her research notes than in her near-death experience. "The cellular analysis is complete," Lyrelay said, staring at her screen. "The venom is definitely in your bloodstream. Massive concentrations. This amount should have killed you 3 times over." "But I feel fine," Katie said. She rolled her shoulder experimentally. "Actually, I feel pretty good. Kind of energetic." Ziakath's 4 arms moved over multiple devices at once. His compound eyes reflected the light from dozens of monitors. As a warrior scientist, he had studied many types of poison. He had seen what Shadow Maw venom did to living tissue. It was not pretty. "Human Katie, your blood chemistry is impossible," he clicked. "The venom breaks down proteins, it destroys nerve connections, it stops the heart, but in your system it does nothing." Katie looked interested. "Really? Can I see the scans?" Lyrelay showed her the medical readouts. To the human, they looked like colorful squiggles, but Lyrelay could read the story they told. Katie's white blood cells were interacting with the venom in ways that should not happen. Instead of being destroyed, they seemed to be adapting to it. Your immune system is treating the venom like a mild infection, Lirelai explained. It is learning from it, becoming stronger because of it. That's cool, Katie said. So if I got bitten again, I would be even more resistant? Both aliens stared at her. The casual way she talked about getting bitten again was deeply disturbing. Most species would be traumatized by a shadow maw attack. Humans seemed to think of it as a learning experience. Lirelai had sent the data to the HFY Science Council on her homeworld. Their response had been swift and worried. In all their records, spanning thousands of years, no species had ever shown this level of toxin resistance. The HFY prided themselves on their vast knowledge. Finding something completely new was unsettling. My people want to run more tests, Lirelai said carefully. If humans have this ability, it could change everything we know about biology. Katie's eyes lit up. More tests? What kind of tests? Safe tests, Lirelai said quickly. We would never intentionally expose you to danger. But what if I volunteered? Katie asked. Think about what we could learn. I could get much closer to the shadow maws now. Maybe study their hunting patterns, up close. Zakh's mandibles clicked rapidly. This was exactly what the Zephyrian war queens had feared. His report to them had caused panic in the military command. They had spent centuries developing biological weapons, toxins that could disable enemy fleets, viruses that could clear planets. If humans were naturally resistant to such things, it changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Human Katie, you do not understand, Zakh said. If your species has this immunity, other races will fear you. They will see humans as a threat. Katie looked confused. Why? We're explorers and scientists. We just want to learn about the universe. Knowledge is power, Lirelai said softly. And power makes people nervous. She did not tell Katie about the emergency session the HFY Council was holding, or about the messages flying between different alien governments. The discovery of human toxin resistance was spreading through diplomatic channels like wildfire. Some species were calling for immediate contact restrictions. Others wanted to study humans more closely. None of them were indifferent. Can I see those blood scans again? Katie asked. She studied the displays with genuine fascination. Look at how my cells are responding. It's like they are having a conversation with the venom molecules. Lirelai watched Katie examine her own impossible biology. The human showed no fear or concern about what this might mean. She was simply curious about how it worked. This attitude was as alien to Lirelai as the toxin resistance itself. On a HFY homeworld, children were taught caution from birth. Every new discovery was carefully tested and evaluated. The HFY had survived for millennia by being careful. They studied things from a safe distance. They planned for every possibility before taking action. Humans seemed to have the opposite approach. They jumped into dangerous situations and figured things out as they went. It should have led to their extinction. Instead, it had somehow made them nearly invulnerable to biological threats. I want to try something, Katie said suddenly. She reached for a sample vial of diluted shadow maw venom. No! Both aliens shouted together. Katie paused with the vial halfway to her lips. Why not? You said I'm immune. Immune to the bite, Lirelai said frantically. We do not know about drinking it. The concentration might be different. The delivery method might matter. There's only one way to find out, Katie said reasonably. Zakh moved faster than Lirelai had ever seen him move. All four of his arms reached out and carefully took the vial from Katie's hands. No experiments without proper safety protocols, he clicked firmly. Katie sighed. You guys are no fun. Fine. We'll do it the boring, safe way. Lirelai felt a chill run through her. Katie had been about to drink shadow maw venom out of simple curiosity. The casual way she approached lethal danger was terrifying. What kind of species evolved this way? Tell me about human medical practices, Lirelai said. She needed to understand how Katie's people thought about risk and safety. Katie brightened. Oh, that's easy. We've been exposing ourselves to weakened diseases for centuries. It's called vaccination. We give ourselves small amounts of dangerous things so our bodies learn to fight them. Lyralay's blue eyes widened. You deliberately infect yourselves with diseases? Sure. How else would we build immunity? And we test new medicines on ourselves, too. Researchers volunteer to try experimental drugs all the time. Zack's mandibles clicked in distress. What about poison testing? We do that too, Katie said cheerfully. How do you think we learned which mushrooms are safe to eat? Somebody had to try them first. Sometimes they died, but that's how we learned. Both aliens stared at her in horror. The Etheri and Zephyrians tested everything thoroughly on non-sentient subjects before any sapient being was exposed. The idea of volunteers deliberately poisoning themselves was nightmarish. Your species should have gone extinct long ago, Lyrelai whispered. Maybe, Katie said, but we didn't, and now I can survive Shadowmaw venom. So maybe our crazy approach actually works. Lyralay's worldview was cracking. The Etheri believed that wisdom came from careful study and ancient knowledge. They preserved information across generations and built upon it slowly. They had created a stable, peaceful civilization this way. But humans had apparently stumbled onto biological advantages through sheer recklessness. They had made themselves stronger by constantly exposing themselves to danger. It was the opposite of everything Lyrelai had been taught, and it was working. I need to report these findings, she said. Can you mention that I want to continue studying the Shadowmaws? Katie asked. This immunity could really help with field research. Lyrelai nodded weakly. She could already imagine the reaction when she told the Science Council that the human wanted to go back out and find more deadly creatures to interact with. Zack was composing his own report to the War Queens. He tried to find diplomatic words to explain that humans might be the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because they were aggressive, but because they were accidentally nearly invulnerable and completely unaware of it. Katie hopped off the examination table and stretched. This has been a great day. I got bitten by an apex predator, discovered I'm immune to its venom, and learned something new about human biology. What's for dinner? As she walked out of the medical bay, Lyrelai and Zack exchanged a look. Both were thinking the same thing. The galaxy was about to become a very different place. 3 weeks later, Dr. Amy Rodriguez stepped off the transport ship with a smile on her face. She had traveled halfway across the galaxy to reach Verdania Prime. The reports about human toxin immunity had reached Earth and caused quite a stir. As Earth's top comparative biologist, she had volunteered to lead the follow-up research team. Behind her came Dr. Lisa Park, a marine biologist who specialized in studying dangerous sea creatures. Lisa had survived jellyfish stings, shark bites, and encounters with creatures from Earth's deepest oceans. She was excited to see what alien toxins might do. The third team member was Dr. Maya Thompson, a toxicologist who had spent years studying poisons and their effects. Maya had accidentally poisoned herself dozens of times in the lab. She had built up resistances to many Earth toxins through repeated small exposures. Katie met them at the landing pad, practically bouncing with excitement. Amy, you made it! Wait until you see what we've discovered. Amy hugged her colleague warmly. They had gone to university together and had remained close friends. Amy's curiosity was legendary even among scientists. She once spent a week in Antarctica studying bacteria that lived in ice, despite nearly freezing to death twice. The reports we received were pretty incredible, Amy said. Immunity to a neurotoxin that kills most species? How do you feel? Great, Katie said. Actually, I think the venom might have improved my reflexes. I've been catching things before they fall without even thinking about it. Lisa's eyes lit up. Improved reflexes? That's fascinating. Some Earth creatures use toxins to enhance their abilities rather than just for defense. Maya pulled out a portable analyzer and began taking air samples. I'm detecting trace amounts of various toxins in the atmosphere. This planet is incredibly dangerous. That's what makes it so interesting, Katie said. Come on, let me introduce you to Lyrelai and Zack. In the research station, Lyrelai greeted the new humans with careful politeness. Over the past 3 weeks, she had been trying to understand human psychology. Their approach to danger still baffled her. Katie had suggested returning to study the Shadowmaws at least a dozen times. Each suggestion had given Lyrelai nightmares. Zack was more direct in his concerns. Human scientists, your arrival has caused much discussion among my people. The War Queens wish to know if all humans share Katie's immunity. That's exactly what we're here to find out, Amy said. We've brought samples of various Earth toxins for comparison. We want to understand the mechanism behind human resistance. Lyrelei felt her stomach drop. You brought toxins with you? Safe ones, Maya assured her. Mostly plant-based compounds that cause mild reactions in humans. We want to see how they compare to alien toxins. Amy spread out a collection of sample vials on the lab table. We've got snake venoms, spider toxins, plant alkaloids, and bacterial compounds. All things that humans have encountered throughout our evolution. Lisa added her own samples. Plus some marine toxins from Earth's oceans. Jellyfish, octopi, sea, snakes. The ocean is basically a soup of different poisons. Zack examined the samples with his instruments. These compounds would be lethal to most Zephyrians. You carry them casually? They're properly contained, Maya said. But yeah, humans deal with this stuff all the time. My grandmother used to eat plants that would probably kill you just because she liked the taste. Lyrelei was horrified. Your grandmother ate poison? Chili peppers, Maya explained. They contain capsaicin, which is technically a toxin. Most mammals avoid it because it causes pain. Humans decided we liked the sensation and started putting it in everything. Amy laughed at Lyrelei's expression. You should see Maya eat the really hot peppers. She sweats and cries but keeps eating them. It's fun, Maya said defensively. The burn feels good once you get used to it. Both aliens stared at her. The idea of deliberately causing yourself pain for enjoyment was deeply alien to their thinking. Perhaps we should start with controlled tests, Lyrelei suggested nervously. They began with a simple experiment. Maya volunteered to be exposed to a diluted sample of local plant toxin. In the controlled environment of the lab, with full medical monitoring, they applied a tiny amount to her skin. That tingles a bit, Maya reported, kind of like mild sunburn. The GI monitors showed the toxin being absorbed and processed by Maya's system. Just like with Katie and the shadow maw venom, Maya's body was neutralizing the compound faster than it could cause damage. Let's try the jellyfish toxin from Earth, Lisa suggested. I've been stung by these things dozens of times. They applied a sample that would cause severe pain and possible paralysis in most species. Lisa barely reacted. Yep, that's about what I expected. Burns a little more than the local stuff. Amy watched the readings with fascination. Your cellular response is incredible. It's like your immune system already knows how to handle these compounds. Maybe that's exactly what's happening, Maya said thoughtfully. Humans evolved on a planet full of things trying to poison us. Plants, animals, bacteria, fungi. We had to develop broad-spectrum resistance just to survive. Lyrelei was beginning to understand something terrible. You mean humans evolved to be immune to biological warfare? Not intentionally, Amy said. But Earth is kind of a biological warfare testing ground when you think about it. Everything there is either trying to eat you, poison you, or make you sick. Zack's report to the War Queens was growing longer by the hour. Every test revealed new aspects of human toxin resistance. It was not just immunity. Human bodies seemed to actively benefit from many exposures that would kill other species. Try this one, Katie said, holding up a vial of processed shadow maw venom. We've been diluting it further and testing different concentrations. Katie, Lyrelei said warningly. It's fine, Katie assured her. Watch this. She applied a drop to her arm. Instead of any negative reaction, Katie's reflexes and alertness seemed to improve slightly. Amy stared in amazement. The venom is acting like a stimulant for you? Low doses, yeah, Katie said. Maya thinks it might be interacting with my neurotransmitters in a beneficial way. Maya nodded enthusiastically. It's similar to how some earth plants contain compounds that are toxic in large doses but beneficial in small ones, like caffeine or nicotine. You consume nicotine? Zack asked in horror. Some humans do, Amy said. It's addictive and dangerous, but in small amounts it can improve focus and alertness. Lyrelei was beginning to realize that humans were not just immune to toxins. They had somehow evolved to turn poisons into benefits. It was the most frightening thing she had ever learned. We need to expand the testing, Amy said excitedly. If humans can not only survive, but potentially benefit from alien toxins, this could revolutionize medicine and exploration. It could also revolutionize warfare. Zack clicked quietly. The words hung in the air like a threat. Everyone understood the implications. If humans were naturally resistant to biological weapons, it would change the balance of power throughout the galaxy. We're not warriors, Lisa said gently. We're explorers and scientists. Your intentions may not matter, Lyreley said sadly. Other species will see your abilities as a threat whether you mean them to be or not. Amy looked around at her friends and colleagues. They had come here to study interesting biology. They had not expected to discover that humanity might be the most dangerous species in the galaxy by accident. Then we better make sure we use these abilities to help people, Amy said firmly. If we're going to scare everyone anyway, we might as well make it worth something. Maya grinned and reached for another sample vial. I like the way you think. What should we test next? Lyreley covered her eyes with her hands. Working with humans was going to give her nightmares for centuries. The evening cultural exchange session had been Lyreley's idea. She wanted to understand humans better, but every answer she got made her more confused. The 5 humans sat around the recreation area, sharing stories about their homeworld, while she and Zack listened in growing amazement. So let me understand this correctly, Lyreley said carefully. Humans deliberately inject themselves with weakened diseases to prevent stronger diseases? Vaccination? Yeah, Amy explained. We figured out centuries ago that if you expose someone to a mild version of a disease, their body learns to fight the real thing. And this was discovered how? Zack asked. Katie grinned. A guy named Edward Jenner noticed that milkmaids who got cowpox didn't get smallpox. So he infected a kid with cowpox on purpose to test the theory. Lyreley's blue eyes went wide. He experimented on a child? It was a different time, Maya said. Medical ethics weren't really a thing yet. But it worked. The kid didn't get smallpox. We do things more safely now, Lisa assured the worried aliens. But humans have always been willing to test dangerous things on ourselves if we think it might help. Amy pulled out her tablet and showed them pictures from Earth. Look at this. Humans exploring underwater caves. The pressure should crush them. But we built machines to protect us and went anyway. The images showed humans swimming through dark underwater passages far from the surface. Any equipment failure would mean certain death. But the humans in the photos looked excited rather than afraid. And this, Lisa added, showing more pictures. Humans climbing mountains where the air is too thin to breathe properly. We just bring oxygen tanks and keep going. Zack studied the images of humans on snowy peaks where no sane creature would venture. Why do they do this? What do they gain? Fun, Katie said simply. We do it because it's there, because we can, because someone said it was impossible. Lyreley tried to process this information. On her home world, dangerous activities were carefully regulated. The Aetheri valued life and knowledge too much to risk either carelessly. Mountains were studied from a distance using remote sensors. Deep water was explored with automated probes. What about poisonous foods? Maya asked suddenly. Lyreley, what do your people eat? Carefully tested vegetation, Lyreley replied. Nutritious plants that have been cultivated for millennia. All toxins have been bred out of them. Maya laughed. Humans do the opposite sometimes. We take poisonous plants and figure out how to eat them anyway. She showed them pictures of various earth foods. Cassava root contains cyanide, but we learned to process it safely. Kidney beans have toxins that we remove by cooking them properly. Almonds naturally contain poison, but we bred sweeter varieties. And then there's fugu, Lisa added with a grin. What is fugu? Zack asked suspiciously. A fish that's so poisonous it can kill you if prepared wrong, Lisa explained. Japanese. Chefs train for years to learn how to serve it safely. People eat it because the danger makes it exciting. Lyreley felt faint. You eat poisonous fish for entertainment? The poison makes your lips tingle, Amy said. Apparently that's part of the appeal. What about alcohol? Katie asked. Do your species drink anything like that? Both aliens shook their heads. Lyreley looked confused. What is alcohol? Ethanol, Maya explained. It's technically a poison that we drink for fun, Small amounts make humans feel relaxed and social. Large amounts can kill us. You drink poison for social reasons? Zach clicked rapidly in distress. Sure, Katie said. Humans have been making alcoholic drinks for thousands of years. Beer, wine, whiskey, vodka. Some of it tastes terrible, but we drink it anyway. Amy pulled up more images on her tablet. And look at these extreme sports. Humans jumping out of flying vehicles with fabric parachutes, racing vehicles at dangerous speeds, fighting each other in organized combat sports. The photos showed humans engaged in activities that looked like elaborate suicide attempts to the aliens. Skydiving, motorcycle racing, boxing, rock climbing without safety equipment. This one is called free climbing, Lisa said, pointing to an image of a human scaling a vertical cliff face with no ropes. If you fall, you die. People do it because it's challenging. Lyra Lee was beginning to understand something profound and terrifying about humanity. They did not just tolerate danger, they actively sought it out. They turned threats into entertainment and poison into recreation. Tell me about human medical research, she said quietly. Maya's eyes lit up. Oh, that's where things get really interesting. Humans volunteer for medical trials all the time. We test new drugs on ourselves to see if they work. Even dangerous drugs? Zach asked. Especially dangerous drugs, Amy said. How else would we learn about them? Someone has to be first. Katie nodded enthusiastically. My great-grandfather volunteered for early cancer treatment trials. The treatments were experimental and risky, but he wanted to help find cures. Did the treatments work? Lyra Lee asked. Not for him, Katie said sadly, but the data from his trial helped develop better treatments that saved thousands of other people. The casual way Katie discussed her ancestors' sacrifice made Lyra Lee's heart ache. The Aetheri protected their family lines carefully. The idea of deliberately risking death for strangers was incomprehensible. Humans sound incredibly brave, Lyra Lee said softly. Or incredibly stupid, Maya laughed. Depends on your perspective. Lisa leaned forward. What about your people? How do you handle dangerous situations? We avoid them, Lyra Lee admitted. The Aetheri value caution above all else. We study threats from safe distances. We use automated systems to explore dangerous areas. We have survived for thousands of years by being careful. That sounds smart, Amy said, but it also sounds kind of limiting. How so? Zach asked. Well, if you never take risks, you never discover anything new, Katie explained. Some of humanity's greatest advances came from people doing dangerous things that everyone said was impossible. Amy nodded. Space travel started with humans strapping themselves to explosive rockets and hoping for the best. It was insanely dangerous, but it got us to the stars. Medical advances often come from doctors who experimented on themselves, Maya added. They tested their theories using their own bodies as laboratories. Lyra Lee was quiet for a long moment. She was beginning to see that human recklessness was not just cultural. It was a survival strategy that had somehow worked. By constantly exposing themselves to danger, humans had become stronger and more adaptable than species that played it safe. This explains your toxin immunity, she said finally. Your species spent thousands of years accidentally poisoning yourselves and learning to survive it. Pretty much, Lisa agreed cheerfully. And now we can survive things that would kill most other species, Katie added, which is going to make exploration so much easier. Zach's mandibles clicked nervously. It will also make other species very afraid of you. Why? Amy asked. We're not aggressive. You do not need to be aggressive, Lyra Lee explained. If you can survive in environments that kill everyone else, you become impossible to stop. The humans looked at each other uncertainly. They had not considered the political implications of their biological advantages. Maybe we should be more careful about who we share this information with, Maya said thoughtfully. Too late, Zach clicked. Word is already spreading through diplomatic channels. The galaxy knows that humans are different now. Lyra Lee touched Amy's hand gently. Your people will need to be very wise about how they use these gifts. Great power creates great responsibility. Amy squeezed her friend's hand. Then it's a good thing we have friends like you to help guide us. But privately, Lorelei wondered if even her ancient wisdom would be enough to help humanity navigate what was coming. The attack came without warning in the middle of the night. Lorelei woke to the sound of alarms screaming through the research station. Emergency lights bathed everything in red as she stumbled from her sleeping quarters. "What is happening?" she called out, finding Amy and Katie already suited up in the main lab. "Unknown contacts approaching the station," Amy replied, checking her equipment. "Zach's sensors picked up movement about 20 minutes ago." Through the station's reinforced windows, Lorelei could see shapes moving in the jungle. They looked like living crystal formations, tall as trees and gleaming in the moonlight. As she watched, one of the creatures touched a metal support beam. The beam began to dissolve with a hissing sound. "They're acidic," Lisa observed, studying the readings from her portable scanner. "The contact is breaking down molecular bonds." Zach's 4 arms moved frantically over his control panels. "Station defenses are failing. The energy barriers cannot stop acid. We must evacuate immediately." Maya peered out another window. "Look at how they move. It's coordinated. They're not just wandering animals. This is organized." The crystalline beings had surrounded the research station completely. There were dozens of them, each one 8 feet tall and shaped like a walking gemstone. Where they touched the station's walls, metal began to bubble and dissolve. "Evacuation protocols are initiated," Zach announced. "Transport ship will arrive in 40 minutes. 40 minutes? Katie asked. "The walls won't last that long." She was right. Already, holes were appearing in the station's outer shell. The acidic touch of the creatures was eating through everything they had built. "We need to abandon the lab," Lorelei said sadly. She began gathering the most critical research data. Months of work would be lost, but their lives were more important. One of the crystalline beings reached the window where Maya was watching. Its surface was like polished diamond, beautiful and deadly. When it touched the reinforced glass, the window began to cloud and weaken. "Everyone back," Amy ordered. "That barrier won't hold much longer." The glass dissolved completely. The crystalline creature stepped through the opening into the lab. Its footsteps left smoking holes in the metal floor. Where its body brushed against equipment, machines began to melt. Zacheth raised his weapon and fired an energy bolt. The beam struck the creature's crystal surface and scattered into rainbow patterns. The being was unharmed. "Energy weapons are ineffective," he reported. "The crystal structure deflects our attacks." Lorelei backed away from the advancing creature. In all her centuries of life, she had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying. The being moved with graceful purpose, dissolving everything in its path. "Wait!" Katie said suddenly. She stepped toward the creature instead of away from it. "Katie, no!" Lorelei screamed. But Katie had already reached out and touched the crystalline being's surface. Everyone expected to see her hand dissolved by acid. Instead, Katie winced slightly and pulled her fingers back. "It stings," she reported. "But it's not that bad. Like touching a hot stove." The creature seemed as surprised as everyone else. It touched Katie's arm with one of its crystal appendages. Katie's sleeve began to dissolve, but her skin underneath remained intact. "The acid burns, but it doesn't penetrate," Katie observed clinically. "Human skin must be more resistant than our clothing." Amy's eyes widened with understanding. "If we can touch them without being killed, we can fight them." She grabbed a broken piece of lab equipment and swung it at the nearest creature. The metal tool dissolved on contact, but Amy's hands holding it were protected by human resilience. "Lisa, Maya, grab anything you can use as weapons," Amy called out. "We need to buy time for the evacuation." The 3 human women began an impossible battle against creatures that could dissolve anything they touched. They used broken furniture as clubs, knowing the weapons would only last moments before being destroyed. But their hands and bodies could survive brief contact with the acidic beings. Lorelei watched in amazement as Katie literally punched a crystal creature. The impact sent fractures through its diamond-like surface. Katie's knuckles were red and burned, but still functional. "Aim for the joints," Maya shouted, dodging an acid spray. "They're more fragile where the crystal formations connect." Lisa had found a metal pipe and was using it like a staff, striking at creature limbs before the acid could completely dissolve her weapon. When one pipe melted away, she grabbed another piece of debris. Zach and Lorelei could only watch helplessly. Any contact with the creatures would mean instant death for them. But the humans fought on, their natural resilience allowing them to engage enemies that should have been untouchable. "How are they doing this?" Leerily whispered. "Human skin is amazing," Amy panted between attacks. "Multiple layers, natural oils, rapid healing. We evolved to handle all kinds of chemical exposure." Katie had managed to crack one creature's central mass. The being collapsed into glittering fragments, no longer able to maintain its form. "They're tough but not indestructible," she announced. The battle continued for 30 more minutes. The humans fought with improvised weapons and bare hands against creatures that could dissolve metal and stone. Slowly, they began to win. The crystalline beings had never encountered prey that could touch them back. When the evacuation transport finally arrived, only half the crystal creatures remained active. The others lay shattered on the laboratory floor. The 3 human women were exhausted, their clothes dissolved away in patches, their skin red with acid burns. But they were alive and victorious. "Incredible," the transport pilot said over the radio. "We've never seen anyone successfully fight the crystal hunters before." As they lifted off from the dissolving research station, Lyralee sat next to Amy in the passenger compartment. Both women watched Verdania Prime shrink below them. "You saved all our lives," Lyralee said quietly. "No other species could have done what you did tonight." Amy smiled tiredly. "We just did what humans do. We adapted to the situation and kept fighting." "Your people are going to change the galaxy," Lyralee observed. "I hope it's a change for the better," Amy replied. Katie was already making notes about the crystal creatures in her research log. "The acid actually seemed to help heal some of my older scars," she wrote. "Possible medical applications worth investigating." Lyralee read over Katie's shoulder and shook her head in disbelief. Even after nearly being dissolved alive, the human was thinking about how to turn the experience into something beneficial. "Are all humans like this?" she asked Amy. "Pretty much," Amy laughed. "We're either crazy or brilliant. Sometimes both." Zakth was composing his final report to the War Queens. The humans had fought acid-based life forms with their bare hands and won. There was no longer any question about whether humanity represented a new kind of power in the galaxy. But watching Amy and Lyralee work together to organize the rescued research data, he realized something important. The humans were dangerous, yes, but they were also generous, curious, and brave. They had risked everything to save their alien friends. Perhaps, Zakth clicked to himself, dangerous allies are better than dangerous enemies. As the transport ship carried them towards safety, Lyralee made her own decision. The Etheri Council would want to limit human expansion out of fear, but fear was not wisdom. Humanity's reckless courage might be exactly what the careful, cautious galaxy needed. She began drafting a proposal for a formal alliance between Earth and the Etheri homeworld. If humans were going to change everything anyway, better to help. Guide that change than to resist it. Katie looked up from her notes with bright eyes. "So when can we go back to study those crystal creatures? I have so many questions about their biology." Lyralee laughed despite herself. Working with humans was going to be the adventure of several lifetimes. She could hardly wait.